This segment of the news is brought to you by Desert View Hospital, providing emergency medical care around the clock at 360 South Lola Lane. Learn more at desertviewhospital.com. Physicians are not employees or agents of this hospital. News is also brought to you by Smitty's Cards and Coins. Would you like to know what your collectibles are worth? Come by 2281 Postal Road, Unit 4, across from the post office.
Welcome back to News 46. In today's Business First Brief, Angela Miles tells us how the housing market is exceeding expectations.
Topping our news, traders are getting a jump on Nike. Yesterday, shares shot up on a report that Nike could soon sell shoes and athletic gear directly to customers on Amazon. Foot Locker and shares of other athletic companies sold off on fears this could be an industry-wide game changer. Oracle is shocking Wall Street analysts. The software company posted earnings and revenue growth for the first time since 2014. During the extended trading hours Wednesday night, that stock rocked to a record high. On the home front, sales of existing homes on the market sold better than predicted. The National Association of Realtors reports home sales ticked up 1.1%, and the majority of homes sold in less than a month. Clooney is banking big bucks. The actor just sold his tequila company, Casamigos, to Diageo for up to $1 billion. The deal is expected to close later this year.
World-renowned investigative genealogist Pamela Slaton has helped Mercy Air flight nurse and wife of Fire Chief Scott Lewis find what she's been looking for her entire life: her birth parents. In a very moving story, Jamie tells us about her journey. Here's part 1 of 2 with Jamie Lewis.
I was adopted when I was only 3 weeks old. My adopted parents are Bobby and Dawn Van Apps. I call them my real parents, and so you will hear me going back and forth. I hope I don't mess this up for you. But I've always known I was adopted. Through the years, you get, "Oh, I'm sorry," when they hear you're adopted, or "What's it like?" Well, it was normal growing up. I had great parents. They supported me, pushed me, held my hand through everything. But I didn't look like my family. I didn't laugh the same. I've always been kind of, and those were things that were very important to me, my heritage. And I think even more so after I got married and had children, because you want to be able to tell them, well, this is where you come from. I've always known that I was half Italian, and I look like it. I've been very proud of that, but I wanted to know where in Italy I came from, where my roots were, where I could take my children back and say, this is where you came from. I never got really serious about it until after I got married, and they passed a law in California that you could find non-identifying information about your adoption. And so I went down there. My adopted mom was very supportive of it. She knew how important it was to me, and so she went down with me. We both signed paperwork so that we could get the non-identifying information. From that, I found out that, yes, my dad was half Italian, but I found out I wasn't English, Irish, French like I was told from my parents. I was Irish, Scottish, and Jewish. It's been a process. You go back and forth over the years. You get very into it, you get disappointed, and you drop it for a while. Well, when all the DNA studies came out, I had done one, which of course me and my mistrusting nature, I started out with the Henderson DNA shop. And it basically backed up what I was told. I then went on 23andMe because they had a show, thought maybe that one will get out there on the internet and maybe I can find some relatives that way, which I did, but you could never patch through the connections on where we were connected. Yeah. I was at the point where I was very frustrated. I thought I'll never find my birth parents, and I just let it sit. Well, I get on my email every day and I get this hit from Ancestry.com, and it was a Richard Gaetano. And it showed that he said, we show that we're second cousins. Would you please contact me? Well, we texted back and forth, and finally he said, well, give me a call. Unfortunately, we were both adopted, so we're like dead in the water. We're like, how in the heck is this gonna work? Yeah. But he told me that he found his birth mother So he recommended Pamela Slaton. And I was not very receptive because I had put so much money and so much time into these people and they did absolutely nothing. He goes, she's really good. He said, I guarantee she will help you. So he sent me her website and I researched her and she's a no find, no fee. She doesn't ask for money up front. That appealed to me because that way if I don't get results, nothing. So I finally bit, sent all my information in. And mind you, I've been doing this for 45 years.
Yeah.
In less than 24 hours, she had found my birth mother.
Interesting story there. Well, the Department of Energy made a presentation at Tuesday's Board of County Commissioner meeting.
And this is a presentation by the U.S. Department of Energy and Environmental Management regarding a permit modification request for mixed waste disposal at Nevada National Security Site.
The waste that comes in has to meet our criteria. It cannot come from a commercial origin. We don't take commercial waste. We have to take waste that either is produced by the Department of Energy or by Department of Energy activities across the United States. We also encourage our waste generators to find commercial outlets. So some of them actually will ship their waste to a commercial disposal facility. But if it can't meet any of those other criteria, if it can't be shipped to Energy Solutions in Utah or waste control specialists in Texas, the only opportunity for potential disposal might become the Nevada National Security Site. So once they've worked through that process, then they might be able to send it to us. When we receive it, the first thing we do, and they show a cross-section of some of our waste stacks, is we'll put it in a particular location in our disposal cell. The disposal cells are generally about 20 feet excavated deep. The one that I'll show you in a few minutes later has additional attributes. We track exactly where the waste is put into it. Once we've filled that cell, we'll actually put an interim cap of additional 4 feet of soil on it. And ultimately, we'll put a final operational cap on that. But if you go out to our site, I know I've had the pleasure of taking several of the commissioners out to the site, you'll note our workers, they're not wearing Tyveks. They're not wearing a whole bunch of radiation control uniforms that you might normally see in a nuclear facility, because the dose coming off of these units is remarkably low. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't get higher dose items. We do on occasion. But you can walk out there and for the most part you'll find no dose, and as we get that initial operational cap put on top of it, the dose is reduced down to less than background. So the process to get us here, under both federal and state regulations, first thing we had to do is do a public notice. We did that back in November. We then had a public meeting in December here in Pahrump, again to inform the public about what we're proposing to do here. So we were proposing to modify our permit. So we completed that process, then we were able to start, then the state of Nevada was able to start its process for review of our permit to make sure it was adequate. So they had a number of comments they provided to us and clarifications we provided. That then started their public comment period. That started on May 10th and it runs through June 23rd, so Friday of this week. And I'll talk a little bit about the comments we got a little bit later, but what happens kind of next. So if the public comment period with the state of Nevada ends on the 23rd, the state's then probably going to look at the substantive comments they've received, if any. I think so far there hadn't been any comments that have been received during this period, but we'll see what's actually received by the 23rd. Then they'll decide if they want to issue a modification to us that would authorize us to build it. And only if we were issued a modification to our permit would we be able to start the dirt work that would proceed with construction of it.
Well, good news. More and more Nevadans are being hired. We'll have that and other news from across Nevada next.